Yeah. I wish we would hear like more than the first 30 seconds of the song.
Yeah, we're constantly. We're gonna have to start in like the middle next time or something.
Like dump it, like track it.
Yeah, let the beat drop eventually, right?
Right? Hey man, it's all beat, dude.
It's all beat. It's all meat and Kelly Reverb stuff.
That's right, bud. All right, hey, welcome back to the exciting part 2.
Oh, I still have the same clothes.
No,
Oh,
it's
here,
totally
did
different.
you want to do a wardrobe change real
Nobody
quick?
knows.
Put my jacket
Put your
on.
jacket on, and I noticed Nolan has the hat change.
Yeah. I mean, like, we all just did one thing. You did nothing different.
I didn't. I rolled my sleeves differently.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
totally
Okay.
different.
And
and then what's
I
this?
adjusted.
What did he just do?
I don't know. He
I
just
did
did this.
Are you trying to get...
Dude, I'm pulling my Dusty Burrows.
I think it was
dude.
a dance move. I
Yeah.
think he was hitting us with the heartbeat.
That's right. Dude. But anyway,
Chris
so
Brown.
welcome back to This Pink Cloud,
Okay, sorry.
season
We'll
2,
get serious.
and technically episode 9.
Episode
right?
9 now,
Wow,
yeah.
Episode 9.
Congrats.
We're on fast
Thank
forward
you.
right now.
Yeah, right. And she did really change her wardrobe. I like it. I like it. So, okay, so obviously we have Anika Cooper, which I always wanted to say Anika.
Oh, yeah.
Anika.
Yeah,
Anika.
Anika.
Anika is the real
Anika.
pronunciation,
Yes.
believe it
Oh,
or not.
okay.
But not... It was, like, originally Anika, and then ever since I was little, people call me Anika, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
just
So then
Anika.
it's not my fault for wanting
He
to
was
mispronounce
he was
it.
the closest, yes.
I was the closest. I
Well,
win.
there you go.
I win the prize.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess Professor, you're gonna recap us
Yeah,
where
so-
we were. And
So those that were here for part 1, which was last week, super awesome show. Thank you very much, Anika/Anika, whichever we're going
Yeah,
with.
whatever.
All right.
But yeah, great show. You know, we talked a little bit about some of the things that you're into now, which we'll get into more today.
Right, the Recovery's Got
Simply
Talent.
Grace, Recovery's Got Talent coming up. And we also just talked about your journey into recovery, struggling with starting with alcohol and marijuana, LSD, all the stuff that the kind of high school playing around. And then it got serious with
Right.
sort of crack and then really sort of primos, which if you missed part...
Primos.
Well, hold on,
slash-
no, but it started off Purple Drink.
Yeah, Purple Passion
Purple
and
Drink.
No-Dose was
Purple,
a little...
Purple Drink,
Hey,
No Dose.
Purple
Yeah.
Passion and No-Dose made a guest appearance.
They
last
did.
week.
Yes.
Purple Passion.
In all seriousness, if you did not catch part 1, really go back and watch it. It was a good one. But
Yeah, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes,
We're
please,
trying
This
to get
Pink
the
Cloud.
get
them numbers up.
viewerships up. Yeah.
but the rails came off, or we came off the rails with meth.
Yeah, that was-
with a a year or two of some pretty bad times with meth, as they often are.
All right, now
got
go
sober
back to
at
your
Timber. Yeah,
no,
got,
go back to your miserable existence part.
got sober. Got
Where
sober.
it
at
brings the feeling.
Timberlawn, against your will.
Yes.
Got sober
Right.
at Timberlawn against your will,
Not want
and
to.
are now sort of being introduced to recovery in Oxford houses and things like that. And the floor is yours. Take it from there.
Wow, yay. Thank you for having me back. It's been such a long week.
Yes, it has. A lot has happened.
A lot has happened in last week.
We could guess what might happen. Trump said some stuff. People got mad.
It rained.
Um,
and that Biden.
Biden
Oh, my
said some
gosh,
stuff.
yeah.
The
Oh,
other
it's such a
half of
terrible-
the country got
Everything's
mad.
terrible.
Oh well, actually, you know what is happening in the future?
What is happening?
Everybody, the COVID mask mandate.
Oh,
is-
yeah, that
is-
did get
is
lifted.
Yeah, but
really gone,
it's a
yeah.
disaster.
That did get
Don't
lifted.
get me started on
Half,
that.
Yeah, right.
half the people got mad about it. The
Oh,
other
they're
half are happy.
So
Yeah.
mad.
So basically, like it's been for the last 4 years. Half the
Yeah.
country's mad and the other half's not.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
then
they
it
hate
switches.
each other, and they're all bad for not thinking the same way the other half does think.
It's all love, people.
Great.
Let's all get along.
So thank God we have a program, right? That we get to talk about this stuff, that we
Sure.
get to like
Yeah.
not hold resentment, not hate people. Like, man,
It
what a
helps.
beautiful, I love being in the program.
It really does help.
So going back, kind of catching you guys or going forward from, just getting an Oxford house, not wanting to do it in the first place, but I connected, right? I connected with the people who I told them I had an abortion. They were like, oh my God, we did too, but they were trying to live a new way of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I connected with them. They were especially one woman who was our house manager, Stacy, who we remained friends for, we're still friends today. We don't talk as much as we did, but I connected with her. I connected with other people. They had a lot of dances back then. A lot of people got together. I mean, I was at 3 meetings a day back then. I was doing different jobs here and there.
And
But
this was while living at the Oxford House?
I lived in Oxford House for 18 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
The research shows, like tons of research shows, staying in some sort of recovery environment for a year increases the chance of staying sober long term from 10% to 80%.
Right.
So,
which you are proof of that.
Right. And that's why I felt like nobody's story is better. Like it was a perfect storm for me to open up sober living.
Sure.
Because of my story, right? Because it's proof that that if you do stay long term in some sort of recovery environment, that the chances of staying sober longer. And I think it's just to build that foundation, man. I think it's learning how to go to meetings every day, learning how to for me, it was 12-step, and I'll stay true to that until it changed my entire being.
Sure, yeah. And we are all firm believers in the 12-step recovery, but we're also open pathway, or a multi pathway.
I love the way you said open pathway.
Yeah, Dusty is all about the many pathways,
multiple pathways,
and I mean. Yes.
God bless him. But another thing, and not like it's a fun topic, but you were telling me when we were speaking earlier this week that you had gotten to a point where you were suicidal, right?
Yes. So suicidal in recovery. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. I'd love to touch on some of that stuff.
So I stayed in sober living for 18 months. Bad relationships. At one point, was dating a guy who was living. He came into the meeting that we were all in. He hit the guy upside the head with a baseball bat because, I was love addiction, like
codependent.
Times,
yeah.
But all I knew was the 12 steps, right? I did the 12 steps. I've done the 12 steps many times. I had the same sponsor for 22 years. Well, at 15 years, I was dating and I had been in a relationship with my son's father. We had been together for a long time. But when I got out of that relationship, and I had been, I was clean at the time. So I did Narcotics Anonymous for a very long time.
Right.
And
did you do NA and AA as well?
Well, so when I first got sober, yes, my sponsor had me work out of both books.
Okay.
Right. So I did work out of both books. But anyways, at 15 years, this is where, I had a lot of stuff in between there, but at 15 years, I was dating a married man who treated me horribly. It wasn't even a good, a situation where I was getting paid, a good amount of money to put up with BS and be with a married man. It was literally just lack of self-worth, zero self-esteem. And this is after years in the program. This is after speaking in front of people all the time, and I believe that, and I need to say this, I believe that I'm still sober today, not because I did it right, because I did everything wrong, but because I was honest with people when I did do things wrong. I held zero secrets. I do not hold secrets.
Right.
And because I told on myself even when I didn't want to.
Sure.
That is why I'm still here today.
The whole honesty factor is
why I sit here today, and I have not put a drug or any mood or mind altering chemical in my body. I did a lot of other stuff, but I did not do that. So I say all that to say that during that process of dating this married man, before that I had found God. So I was doing all the things, trying to stop doing this behavior, right? And at the time, I want to bring up an interesting fact. I was judging people for relapsing on drugs and alcohol.
Right.
I was judging the hell out of them. Why can't they just stop using?
Right.
I did.
Yeah.
Why can't you?
Sure.
So be careful of who you judge and the way that you, or just be careful of who we judge, right? So I learned hard lessons in that because I realized that I could not stop dating this guy. I could not. I could not stop talking to him. I could not stop crying over him. I could not. And I was talking to people. I was doing all the things that the tools had taught me to do, right? Nothing was changing.
Right.
And I remember going, and I was about to, because I didn't even get a touch on the story about my dad. We didn't talk, my family didn't talk for 10 years. And I was finally about to head to San Antonio to meet with them and to see them. And I remember the week before, I was like, I'm done talking to this guy. I'm not talking to him anymore. And that morning I woke up, and immediately, it was just like the drugs and alcohol, y'all, when I was trying to change the days, right? I'm only going to do it this time. I would wake up and say, I am not texting him today.
I'm only going to be in an abusive relationship on Saturdays.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was like, I'm not going to text him. I'm not going to pick up the phone. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. And before you knew it, suddenly the thought was, oh, but he's got remember those glasses that you have? You definitely need those glasses, right? And it opened up the door to obsession.
Yeah.
Just like that. And the reason I get so serious about this is because it's a very serious matter. Like, it is no joke. People are killing themselves sober. They're blowing their brains out. They're doing some things sober because they think they should be at this certain level in recovery that they're not.
Yes.
And then they're like, well, I'm not doing it. I don't look like other people look. I'm not doing it as perfect as they're doing it. So I shouldn't do this anymore.
That's so true. There's this notion, and no one ever says it, but it's just sort of something that I did to myself too, where I think I'm always supposed to be on this trajectory in recovery.
Right.
I'm always supposed to be getting a little bit better, feeling a little bit better, being a little closer to God, feeling a little, whatever. And when it doesn't match this idea, I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. I've got to do more of this or more of that. And then I start to become crazy and self-critical, and it's a weird deal.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Relapse absolutely happens a lot in that time. That's what happened to me.
Sure.
Yep.
Or fading away from the program and then eventually relapsing.
Well, and like you
shame.
said, like once you remove the drugs and alcohol, you think, oh, well, that's it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
Oh,
it's
God.
like the past trauma. They say there wouldn't really be an addiction without past trauma.
One of the most powerful things I ever heard in recovery, and thankfully I heard it early on, was the alcohol wasn't the problem, or drugs wasn't the problem. That was the solution.
Solution to the
Yeah.
problem.
That was the solution I
a lot
came
of
up
people
with.
would be dead if it wasn't for drugs and alcohol.
Absolutely.
Sure.
You know, because they couldn't, they would have killed themselves.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's an important thing, because you're absolutely right. There's people that relapse, fade away from the program, terrible relationships,
or
suicide.
They're in the program hardcore, going to meetings every day, talking to somebody, doing all the things, and everybody thinks that they're like this, but they're holding a secret.
Yeah.
They're not
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
the real
yeah.
stuff. So it's not just the people that fade away. It's
Yeah.
the ones that are right in your face, speaking on the podiums, doing all the things, but they've got that one thing that they're doing that they're not telling anyone about.
Sure. Yeah.
And they will use.
Internalizing. Yeah.
How long can you survive with that?
Yeah.
You can't. It doesn't.
No one knows the
doesn't
answer.
last.
Months, weeks, years, who
Yeah.
knows?
It
Sure.
depends
Playing
on your
with
own
fire.
level of exactly. And so I think that was my greatest gift, was being able to be honest. And so that day that I was, I could not pick up the phone. I text the guy, and I just remember this feeling of just absolute desperation and like, I can't do that. And I've had many moments before this one. That's where my belief has come from. And I am very strong about my belief because of these moments, right? So I remember getting on my knees that morning and begging God. I said, listen, if you don't take this away from me and I don't stop reaching out to this man and dealing with this, I just want to die. Just let me die or give me something, do something in my life, right? Because it was just, I could not stop. With everything in me, y'all, I wanted to stop and I couldn't. And the week after, I woke up one morning, and I made it to my dad's. I did all that, and of course, obviously, I'm still here. I didn't die, but I woke up and I called my best friend. I was like, "Dude, I think I'm supposed to do something with women and sober living or something. I don't know. I don't know what to do." And the minute I started putting that out there, it was just supposed to be this little house that I didn't know where I was going to open the house, what I was going to do, any of that. I just knew that maybe I was supposed to do something, and God gave me my purpose, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to die.
Sure.
I wanted to die because my codependency and love addiction And that it didn't. My love addiction and codependency didn't end there.
Right.
God just gave me simply grace, and it was a beautiful thing. And now today I have 7 houses.
Sure.
We've helped I don't know how many women. 9 years later, we've got a community built. I mean, there's so many things happening because of that moment of absolute desperation when I said,
That's awesome.
I can't do it. It goes back to the I mean, it's
Yeah.
I can't, he can't, and I think I'll let him, man.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do all the work to clear it out so that he can do it. And then I give it back to other people, and that's what keeps me going, right? And whatever pathway somebody chooses. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
whatever.
Get into
I mean,
that.
but
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the awesome things. I mean, you know, one of the awesome things about God in my life is that's his specialty, man. Is taking that broken moment, taking the broken and building out of
Man.
that something unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like if you're in that moment where you're just totally broken,
Don't give up.
Yeah, you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yes, man.
You
And
know?
it's the hardest, especially the longer you stay sober, the harder it is because you think that the shame and guilt around what people are going to think.
Right.
And what are people going to do? What are people
Well,
going
and
to
that goes
say?
for you, like you were saying, like how you still were living for other people. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll get to that place of like, so I opened Simply Grace. You know, a lot of things happened in between then. I had my daughter Zoe. I dated professional athletes. That was my stick. That was something, you know, I had 2 relationships with professional, different ones. And, you know, looking back, I thought, or at the time, I thought I was just cool. Like, you know, I just attracted professional athletes. When you go much deeper, it was way bigger than that.
Right.
It was, I needed you to validate who I was.
Yeah.
Right.
If you weren't somebody, then I wasn't somebody.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
if you, like, I'm nobody. So even though I had all this stuff going for me, I still wasn't anybody. I had no worth. So
Uh-huh.
I had to do for you, and I had to be, or you had to be, in order for us to be something, right?
Right. I got you. Yeah.
So I went through that whole thing. I had my daughter. I love my daughter. In that time, it was really hard because my love addiction. So if you know anything about love addiction, when you're a love addict, you date love avoidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you date the love avoidant, or as soon as your love addiction kicks in, the love avoidant is like, I sense that coming on, and
Right.
so
Break that down. I want to know what you're saying.
love addiction for a love addict, I attach who I am to you and how you're acting, right? So
Okay.
if you're loving on me and you're giving me attention and you're texting me all day and loving on me all day,
Mhm.
I feel okay. I'm like,
Okay. Cool.
I just had to hit a dope, right?
Okay.
Right, right.
All right.
The minute you don't, and I don't get that text or I don't get that hit a dope, I'm like, wait, what's going on? And I
Uh-huh.
start reaching for you.
Okay.
And when you feel that, you start feeling suffocated.
Okay.
Like, oh God. And so you almost, as the love addict, you create that person moving away. Well, what I take it as is you're rejecting me, right? I didn't know any of this at the time.
Right.
All I knew
Well,
is
I'm just learning
like,
it now.
Yeah.
I'm like hanging on for dear life to this person, and they're like, get away. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
Like,
how
calm
can you
down.
do this to me?
Yeah.
But
Cling
it's my
on.
breath. It's how I was a puppet on a string, and if you were happy, I was the smile on the puppet went up. If you were
Right.
sad, I was like,
Right.
I was attached to you,
Right.
right? Fast forward a little bit, I started dating, and this is this is what changed my world. I started dating this. Now, mind you, I am 22 years sober at the time.
Mhm.
I have this nonprofit of women empowerment, and
Mhm.
I empower women to fulfill their purpose.
Sure.
And that I am, woo! Everybody,
Yeah.
I am on high
Right.
cloud.
Mhm.
Well, still haven't. I've done the step work. I've done a lot of work on myself. I've stayed sober. I've maintained. This cute guy walks in to hear me speak at a meeting, and he's got 3 months sober. He's 15 years younger than me.
Mhm.
He thinks I'm super hot. I'm like, okay. I fight him off. I fight him off for a little bit because I have God has given me a very strong conscience.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
he'll talk to it, and he'll make me. My stomach is nauseous. I'm like
Uh,
uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, don't do it, Anika. Don't do
Right,
it. Do
right.
not do this.
Yeah.
But
But
the
he
more
is 15.
that I ignore
but he
it,
is 15 years younger than me, and he is
and
hot.
he's super hot, right? So in the moment, I'm ignoring. I start ignoring that voice that's in that inner, because it's my values, right?
Your moral compass.
And so what I learned is-
it goes back into the purse.
Well, what happens is, for me, this is how
Yeah.
I describe it, because this is my truth,
Sure.
is that it's God. God is in me. My values are in me. It's all in there. He's speaking to me through my gut. He is telling me, stay away. Do not do this. Regardless of if he's got 50. Like, those are circumstances, but God sees way past what I'm actually about. He knows what I'm about to step into. And he's like, stop, warning signs, red flags, whatever you want to call it. And the more that I ignore it, the quieter it gets. So I no longer have that sick feeling. I no longer feel, I'm just like, well, I can do this, right? So I jump in head first. He relapses. Starts shooting up heroin again. For the next year and a half. So what I do, this is my pattern. So he starts shooting heroin. My sponsor, I start lying to her. I fantasize, and I'm delusional. The delusion has to be smashed, right? Well, I'm delusional. He's good. He's great. He's amazing. Telling everybody all this stuff. And I believe this with all my heart. And he's shooting up heroin in the bathroom with my kids. You know, my kids are at home. He's shooting up heroin. I'm taking him to treatment center after treatment center. And because of the integrity that I have and because of
your
program,
position,
my position, I'm getting him in free places. I got him a job. I got him connected with someone who got him a car. Because still, I need to do something for you to feel validated, because alone, being Anika Cooper at her soul, at her core, is not enough.
Right.
So I have to do for you.
Sure.
Even if you're 15 years younger than me, even if you have 3 months sober and are using heroin, I need that. That's how deep this stuff goes, right?
Sure.
Well, it's a good idea. If all this is happening, that he asked you to marry him, you say yes.
Of course, man.
Don't you say yes to that? I mean, hello.
Yeah. I mean,
so I'm like, of course I will.
Yeah.
So I get pregnant. Because, of course, you get pregnant with the guy who asked you to marry him.
That's what happens.
I had a miscarriage.
Okay.
That was the first one. Devastating. I stayed with him. The second one. Now, he's cheating on me this whole time.
Oof.
And I
bonus.
still don't leave, right? I switched
And
sponsors.
you're well aware of that he's
I'm
cheating
very
on you.
aware.
Yeah, okay.
I switched sponsors because that sponsor is telling me truth, and I don't want to hear truth.
Yeah, I don't want to hear you
I don't
anymore.
need to hear your truth
I need
anymore.
to get another sponsor.
I need it. So I switched sponsors.
Fresh
I
set of
switched
ears.
programs, actually. I went to AA. But AA actually ended up changing my life, too, through the big book. But anyways, I had another miscarriage. I got pregnant again after that miscarriage. Went to the doctor to get, we were okay. The baby was okay. Now, remember, I had an abortion at
Sure.
17
Way back when.
where I
Right,
had
yeah.
to look at, and I've had 3 abortions total, 2 miscarriages, and 2 children, okay? And I say that because if there's any women listening to this or any men or anybody that's gone through this, there is no shame in these things. It's about moving forward, right?
Right.
There is no shame in any of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. It is what it is. Move on. And so this miscarriage, though, I thought the baby was, okay. I go in for the sonogram. The baby is not alive anymore. The reason I say that, and I'm very descriptive about it, is because when I had the abortion, you're watching the screen and you choose, you have to see the child, right? Well, whenever I went in to see this last miscarriage, I see, and it's the same situation,
Right.
the dark room, the dark screen, the screen is up, and they tell me the baby is not alive anymore. So this is the second one in less than 3 months.
And does it bring back the whole?
Well, yeah, that's
initial,
what. The trauma hits me like and he's out with someone else. They're posting on Facebook. They're together. It's a girl
Wow.
that I knew in the rooms.
Right.
Wow.
I set the ball rolling.
Sure.
But I'm a victim, right?
Sure.
I set this ball rolling
Right.
a long
Sure.
time ago.
Sure.
But I didn't know it at the time because I hadn't done any work around trauma. I didn't have trauma. What?
Right. I'm on top of the world.
Yeah. So everybody knew, though, that I was dating him. That's what I need to be clear. No, this was not hidden at all. Everyone knew that he was relapsing. I never hid it from anyone, which is why I'm still here today
Right.
to tell the story. Okay? After that miscarriage, I drove to the gas station to get my son a Dr. Pepper because my son loves Dr. Pepper.
Hey, it runs in the family.
Runs in the
right?
family. And I walked past. I was in so much pain. He wasn't anywhere around. He called, and I'm bawling, and he's like, "Can you help my mom?" Because his mom. So it was a really bad situation. And I remember walking into that gas station, and there's moments in life where you just remember, right? Because it's a pivotal time in your life. There was a wall of alcohol, and I said, and this was the moment for me. It's like, Do you go back?
Yeah.
Because it hurts so bad?
Sure.
Do you go back to that?
Yeah.
And I remember all my spiritual work, all my 12 steps, all my praying and like all of these things, the only 3 words that could come out at that moment were God help me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's it. That's all I had.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing else, you guys.
Yeah.
And so I remember I leaned on that thing and I said, God help me. I had my 6-year-old with me, or she was 4 at the time. And next thing I know, people pretty much intervened and took me to the Bridge to Recovery in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely a blessing. I stayed there for 4 weeks, worked on all my trauma, worked on everything.
Mm-hmm. But you did not use at that time.
I did not use.
Just
God,
with that little
no.
prayer.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
help me was all I had. So all these big words, all these fancy
Yeah.
everything, all this stuff.
All this huge
At that
thought
moment.
process, and yeah.
At that moment, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Well, and it's
Only 3 words that could come to me.
yeah, it's like but all the work that you had done prior, it's all putting a little bit in the spiritual bank.
Yes.
So there's it talks about it in the big book, but there's a time where it's going to come a time. Steps are great, sponsors are great, meetings are great, knowing people, picking up the phone, all that stuff is important and great. But there's going to come a time where it's just you and God in that room.
That's it.
And I hope your God's big enough at that moment. You know
Right.
what I mean? And yours was because you had done that work leading
they,
up to
they
it.
call that insurance.
And you
Yeah,
had, but
yeah.
it's just, leading up to it. So all that work, got you ready for that month. But it's just a cool story. I just love the way this stuff kind of works. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like listening to it. But
Yeah, there's
go ahead.
like
yeah.
definitely something else
Yeah.
out there, big, a little bigger than me.
Yeah.
And so at that moment I go in, I'm there, and I remember there was a meditation that happened while I was in there. You couldn't have your phone, you couldn't have magazines, you couldn't talk to people, you couldn't do anything. So they stripped me of everything that I used, right, to change the way that I felt, even sober.
Right.
They stripped me of all that, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my trauma. I dealt with a lot of stuff, and it changed my life. I had to say goodbye letter. I had to write goodbye letters to all of my abortions, all of my the children that didn't make it. Like I had to do all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also I had to do a first step on my love addiction and my codependency.
Sure.
And it was a 22-page first step. And it went all the way back to being a child and the attention that I used to seek.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just at the core, I did not know who I was. And I used this to be somebody, if that makes any sense, and to get attention and to do all of that. And so I learned all of that in there. And I needed, this is the thing, I was working the steps, I was doing all these things, but I was agnostic in the area of my relationships. I did not believe that God could take me from this point.
Right.
He could not help me in that area of my life.
Yeah.
God's out on this area, but he's okay over on this.
Well, that's
side,
the whole thing. It's
but
like
not the whole full spectrum.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. That's the joke or whatever in recovery, but it's so true. It's like I'll give it all to you. I'll give it all up. But money and relationships,
Yeah.
I'm in charge of those.
I've
those
got
I have
that.
to. Well, just think about it. I have to be in charge.
Yeah.
And how is God going to make me money? How is
Yeah.
God going to get me a girlfriend?
Right.
Yeah.
So or whatever.
So it's been quite a journey after that. Like I learned a lot of stuff about myself there, and I got out, and it was funny because the minute I got out, and people knew what I was doing, and of course the judgment was there. Of course there was like, what does she do? Like, what's going on with Anika? But what happens is when God is in the mix of something, I came out and we did our Grace the Runway, which is our other huge fundraiser that we do every year, and it's women in our program model, and it's a big event.
Okay.
So when I came out, I had to plan for this event, and people saw me stand there and had shamed myself or pretty much embarrassed myself in front of the whole industry. But I was able to go walk into that event with all of my peers that knew what had happened in my life and stand with my head held high, and everyone knew that I had gone to get help, knew that I went to go do what I need to do. So that whether it was one person or 1,000, it let other women know that maybe had sobriety or didn't have, whatever it was, that you too can like be like, you know what,
Well,
I'm
here,
doing some
here
things.
you are, like
Yeah.
this figurehead, if you will, running this successful organization, but yet you still have problems.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how can that be? And you hold yourself to a higher standard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it's
that's gotta
self-critical,
be-
but yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
But-
yeah, but I mean, you know, it's hard not to do. You know, so
Well, especially when your whole thing is like being, you know,
being
empowering
sober
women.
and Little Miss Sunshine, and
Yeah, and then you're-
a ray of hope for them. Hey, by the way, this ray has a dark cloud in front of
Yep.
it. By
But
the
I
way.
talk about that dark cloud
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, no,
because
and I think
don't
that's
want
great.
women
Yeah.
to see me. A lot of whether I want to be put in the position that I'm in or not, I'm in it.
Yeah,
Right?
sure.
Because of the things that I've done in my life, because of whatever. I am in this place where people look up to me.
Mhm.
It's still very baffling to me. It's very uncomfortable.
Sure.
But I'm there. And what I refuse to do is for people to look at me and think, I have to be at a certain place in order to achieve this, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it's an absolute lie because every morning, you guys, I wake up and I struggle. But I struggle because God knows, and I truly believe this with everything in me, that if He doesn't give me this weight of the world on my shoulders in the morning, I won't go to Him and give it to Him.
Right.
I will just get up and boop, boop, I got
And
this.
be off in
And then-
Anika land.
Yeah. And so I wake up running from the fire to God every
Sure.
morning. It
Right.
doesn't. It hasn't gone away.
Right.
And I don't ever want it to go away, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you, because it is a game changer for me because it's just a game changer. So I went through that, but the reason I was talking about the agnostic piece is because if I don't believe that God can help me in that area, and I think I can control and manage it on my own, because I thought I could.
Yeah.
I would only call Him at this. I would do all
Yeah.
this right. If I don't think that He can manage that, then I don't need to be away from it. I don't need abstinence from it.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I needed that abstinence. I needed to be pulled away from that for a certain amount of time in order to get healthy, right? To get clarity, to get whatever I needed.
No different than drinking. If I think I can control my
Exactly.
drinking, then I'm going to keep drinking.
Yes.
I'm going to keep
yes.
trying to administer control over it.
Oh God,
So,
I
yeah.
tried for so. Oh my God, I tried for so long, and so I got out, and because I had that time away from the situation, things were different when I got out. I went and did this event. Was I magically cured? No, but I did the aftercare, and I still do the aftercare that they told me to do. I believe in doing whatever I need to do in order to get better, right? So after I did that, I got into, like I said, I got into therapy, but then I went to this, they have a big AA, they used to, before COVID hit, a big AA citywide. It's called Citywide, where everybody gets together and speaks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard of.
Where
I've
they're-
heard of this.
Yeah, it's
I have
amazing.
not been sober in it. but-
Once
Yeah.
the Rona's gone,
Yeah.
there's a lot of more fun stuff that happens.
Lots
Yeah.
of more fun stuff. So I went to this, and a gentleman was speaking, and I've known this guy forever. And he was talking, and I wanted what he had. I was like, he was talking about his experience through the Big Book, and I'm like, I want a new spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
I asked this guy to walk me through the book, right? And I'd always been told women stay, and I'm absolutely for that, right?
Yeah. Sure.
But this guy walked me through the book. We did not do my sex inventory together, and I don't say that like funnily, like he just wasn't, and
Right.
and I'm with that. So I went to a woman and did my sex inventory, but I went through the work again, and that was a part of who I am today. And I remember looking at my character defects and him saying, you will no longer, because it was funny because even after that, there was this 25-year-old or 24-year-old that was like another hot one. And he was like, you are, I don't know why the young ones, I
well,
don't know
you
what
gotta-
it is, why they
look,
like me.
She got a little cougar vibe, right?
No,
Apparently.
no, there is no taking care of ananybody. There's no,
Is that
I don't
what
know if
cougars
that's
do?
what a cougar is, but no,
Yeah, I don't know.
no, not gonna
I
happen.
thought it was just an attractive, older.
Who knows
Yeah.
what it's been defined on the social media? I don't,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't partake enough to know.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely. So I remember him saying, like, you will no longer want to be this. No, those people will no longer, not those people, but you will no longer attract this certain
Yeah.
to where they feel like they can approach you, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so I did that, and things changed, and I did not get into a relationship for 4 to 5 years. I haven't been in a relationship since I went to the bridge.
Okay.
And I thought that was healthy, right? I thought, well, that's what I don't need to get into and deal with all that madness because I turn crazy when I get into a relationship. Well, it was avoiding.
Yeah,
I
a
was
little fear.
avoiding
Yeah.
and fear and getting into all that. So recently I've gotten back, and I still work with people. I still take people through the work. I still do all of these things, right? I've got 2 children that I take care of. I opened a thrift store. I opened my IOP when I got out of the bridge because I saw that there's more to this whole thing.
Yeah, there's a bigger
than just working, the steps. Like
Sure.
we need to let's help these people
Well, and
be
also,
trauma informed, but not dig into it that early.
And it gives them an opportunity to be honest, like you have said that's
a good point.
Paramount in your recovery
Absolutely.
is being honest and being honest with other people about your situation and getting it out and not internalizing.
It's a venue to do it in.
Yeah,
for sure. If all you do is go to AA meetings and NA meetings, it may not even be an opportunity to bring up something like an abortion or some sort of trauma. So it's very true.
And therapeutic model, like all of it. I did psychotherapy when I was at I've all of these things, right? And so I've done all of these things. Well, then when I was ready to get into a relationship again, I was like, I need Al-Anon. I need to go through. Actually, it happened a little differently than that. I knew somebody that was in a relationship that said that Al-Anon changed their life. So I am now on my 8th and 9th step of Al-Anon. And when I tell you it's a whole nother, because I don't ever feel like I've arrived anywhere.
Right.
Man.
Well, hey, real quick, Al-Anon for the folks.
I mean, it's essentially family groups. So the idea is alcoholism is a family disease. There are people other than the alcoholic affected by it.
Right.
Wives, husbands, children, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. And it's a place where they can go and seek help. I mean, a lot of the weird emotions that come from...
And a lot of people don't even realize that it's out there, that it's a part of recovery and understanding addiction.
Yeah, resentments, trauma, fear, lack of faith, questioning God. These things are not exclusive to the addict and the alcoholic. This stuff happens to people that are around.
Yeah, that are addict adjacent.
And it's a place where you can go and get help. But
okay. Cool. I like to break things down because we start throwing out these acronyms and then
we assume people
like,
know.
What does that mean?
We do assume people know. Yeah.
So it's a family. It's for the families. But and I did it so that I could learn how to have a healthy relationship. Because even though I've done all this work on myself, I don't necessarily know. I don't know how to have a healthy interaction with people, and that's hard to say at 44 years old. That I don't know how to have a healthy relationship, right? And so I've done the work in that, but what I found through that was it goes a lot deeper for me than just getting in a relationship. There's some family stuff that I have completely, layers come out. I believe that things are revealed to us in the time that they can be revealed to us. We can't handle it. We can't cope with things at other times, right? So if all of these things would have been revealed to me in the beginning or at certain times in my life, I might not have been able to handle it.
Sure.
So that's where my faith and my trust in God has to come in, that like he's going to reveal things to me when it's the perfect time, right? And it is the perfect time right now. And now these things are coming out, and I'm seeing these things about my family dynamics and boundaries, and like I never had boundaries and all this stuff. Like it just wasn't something that I was interested in finding out about, and I'm learning about boundaries now, and I'm learning about all these things. And so the thing that my passion in life is so that people know that they're not alone, that there's no shame in telling the truth about what they're going through, no matter what. There's so much stigma around it. Even people in the rooms are judgmental, are hateful, are all of these things, which is what same thing as religion, right? And I can get into all this, and I'm not going to, but that runs people away from. I'm definitely a believer.
We might have to go to part 3 for that.
Well, it's a room full of people. And people,
Thank you. That's my point. Is like
people have
you're dealing
different
with
characteristics,
humans.
and not all of them are positive.
Yes.
So,
Nobody thinks
like
me, which is wrong.
Well, it's a whole. I'm just at a place where now I'm continuing to look at myself, and like I'm so grateful for opportunities to like talk about my story and be honest about it, because I want people, no matter who they are, to know that like they're not alone, and that they can, they can have things that they've done that they're not proud of, and they can talk about it, and that there are people out there that and you can still be successful and do all these things.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can still have all the. Because I remember being like, how can I be so successful
Right.
in all these areas of my life, but I am a complete failure in relationships. I would always say, the main thing that I would always say, what is wrong with me?
Right.
And the first thing that they tell you when you walk into the bridge is it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you, right? And how you interpreted what happened to you. And when I went back and looked at all these things, my core beliefs were I was unlovable and I was not important. And those came from specific moments in my life with family that I took that message and what they did as truth, and that's who I am. And I bought into that. And I mean, you took the drugs and alcohol away from me, and you had a very codependent.
Yeah, you still had a broken person that wasn't fixed.
In some ways,
to
emotionally, spiritually, maybe more so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Very much so.
You took my best solution.
Yes.
That was the best tool I had for life. Yeah.
And so, my thing is like being careful with the avenues and what we've been given, our platforms, being careful with how we use them, because we can give a lot of misinformation out here to people, and that's why I don't sit on a high horse. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like me because I don't, if I forget to call them back or whatever, and you can either get stuck on that or you can focus on the people that you are helping, right? And you said something earlier about planting a seed, like that's all we can do.
Yeah.
But I don't tell people my truth is just my truth. It's my story. Like I don't have the answers for everyone.
Well, but you've given them a planter box as well.
Yeah.
And that's
just to plant seeds, which is fantastic. But go ahead.
Well, that's the only way I know for sure to avoid giving misinformation is to stick with what has happened. Like, if I'm only talking about what I know from experience and what has actually happened and being honest about that, then I can't be giving out misinformation because it's reality.
Yes.
Once I start trying to...
It's your truth.
Well, once I start trying to... I don't know, whatever.
Philosophize.
Yeah, talk about something that I just don't have experience with, like,
Exactly.
Right.
If I started to try and relate to someone about trauma of miscarriages and things like that, then I'm off in left field, dude. I don't know. I'm not talking about. I'm just talking to hear myself talk.
This goes into me being at Simply Grace and what our focus is at Simply Grace, right? Our focus is 12 steps.
You want to throw up the Simply Grace logo with the contact info as well. I want to put that up there. Hey, real quick, I just got to drop in Summer Sky.
Yeah.
Great place to go.
Yeah. Well, so our sponsor, thank you so much for sponsoring Summer Sky. And we're partial to it since we met there, and we're just there about almost 9 months ago.
Yeah.
But Summer Sky in Stephenville, Texas, treatment center, inpatient treatment center.
Yeah.
www.summersky.us. I can't remember the phone number right now, but it's on the website.
Yeah.
And if you need help, give them a call.
For sure. And then if you're a female and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or actually Kaufman, I'm looking at this. You have a location in Plano, Richardson, Dallas, Kaufman, and Fort Worth. Correct?
Yes, I have all those. Sorry.
Yes.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I thought y'all were talking about
No, it's sober living. Simply Great is sober living, and essentially, the for those that don't know, the idea is you're not magically cured after a 7-day detox or a 30-day inpatient. There might be some more work that you need to do. And sober living is a great place to do that. You get to be surrounded by people that are also in recovery, trying to do the same thing that you're doing, that can relate to you on that level. It's a safe place to be and work on some of that stuff.
Right.
And like you talked about last week, high accountability, low cost is what you're shooting for.
Yeah.
Right.
Accountability being important because... I don't know about you guys, but I can be a liar.
And they hate it. They hate the structure, but they routine. Hate it, but they love it.
The routine and the structure is important. I'm undisciplined, especially in early sobriety, and it helps.
Oh yeah. I've definitely run into some people that think that once 30 days, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then
if only.
Yeah, and then they turned out being a little recidivism.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of 90 dayers instead of or
Are you talking about me specifically?
no.
You
no,
are.
no,
You
no,
should
no.
be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had that mentality before.
Yeah.
And landed back in treatment not too long after.
Well, so they can call and y'all can advise and y'all are financially helpful. But in order to fund all of this, because obviously it's not getting funded by just you opening the doors.
Mm-hmm.
So you do events. Which is Recovery's Got Talent is one of them. And then you also have another event. What was that called?
Grace the Runway. We
Okay.
haven't scheduled that because of COVID this year.
Hoping it goes away so you can get a better. I was actually going to ask. So you said sold out for Recovery's Got Talent, but now that the mask mandate and the 100% occupancy,
They're not letting it up.
Not letting it up. Okay.
I hit her up about that. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, we can have the exclusive for the show and go. Oh yeah, go to here and
Just thought I'd
I
ask.
wish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
because we have about 100 more people that are trying to get to go,
Yeah.
and we just don't. We sold out too quick.
gonna
And
be a
I knew
good
it
show.
was going to sell out.
Any show that sells out is going to be a good show.
Well, people
Yeah.
are ready to get back out, man. They're ready.
and we've got our boy. We've got a horse in the race.
Yeah, old
Ty Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So
he's
it's super exciting.
yeah, and then I've got a conflict of interest because my friend Dawn Michelle Gardner is
Uh-oh.
also in.
You got
there.
multiple
and
horses
she's
in
a
the race.
singer.
And
So,
that's
yeah.
March 19th. Was that
It is
correct?
March 19th. So
Okay.
they can go to the Recovery's Got Talent Season 3 Facebook page to watch it live.
Uh-huh.
And we'll see how that works out.
we'll see how the quality is.
Yeah, we'll see.
Just make sure somebody that's savvy is running the soundboard,
Yeah.
and hopefully it doesn't doesn't compress too bad.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yeah,
Sounds like voodoo.
sounds like DJ talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, thanks
welcome.
for coming and sharing your story with not just us, but with everybody who's listening. I mean, I just love recovery. I like being able to enjoy something like this, share it. It's better than anything that's on Netflix, I'll tell you that right now. Seriously. And, that connection that happens when you're telling your story and I'm like, oh, yeah, that reminds me of, I'm hearing my story.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that was listening that heard a little bit of their own story in there, that connection that happens, that's what it's all about.
I totally, got down with the purple drink and the mini thins.
Yeah, the no-dos, that was funny. That was funny.
Hey, but so real quick, anybody, because I'm looking at your esteemed board here, anybody you want to shout out to that helps you out on a daily basis? Besides God?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my whole board, I mean, I'm not going to, I probably won't say their names just because it's kind of, it's on there, but
Yeah.
my staff is what keeps Simply Grace going.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure.
Because the most important, obviously we have to have money to keep it going, but the importance of who works with the women is my number one thing, and who is with them day to day. And
Right.
if they show that they care, and it's really, like I was thinking about it this morning, and like we pray for these women. When they come in, we pray with them. We surround each and every woman, and there's almost 60 women. And
Wow.
we know what's going on in each one of their lives, and we know we're on top of all of it. And we have we have meetings to talk about. And because they're coming in, and we know that they're going to go this direction, because that's the direction they've always. It's just like a natural progression. They do well, and then they're like, oh, And so our job is to put them back online,
Sure.
so that they can keep going straight, right? Whatever that
Right.
looks like. And what I wanted to say before I get off, the whole point I had about when you were talking about. Not getting into somebody else's lane and not.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was with Simply Grace. I've been asked to do MAT. I've been asked to do men's houses. I've been asked to do eating disorder houses. I've been asked to do all these different pathway houses, or whatever you want to call it. That is not my story.
Yeah.
I
Right.
can't help people in that
Sure.
area.
Yeah.
Right. So if that, there's a need for all of it. Right. But if I start getting into that, I'm going to harm someone because I don't know what it looks like. I might be judgmental around it. I might.
Right.
So if I get into that, I might harm someone. So I stay in my lane. I
Sure.
know what works for me and what God has called me to do. And that's where I stick with.
Right.
When I see it's harming people, right? So just
Yeah.
stick with what I know, and that's what I stick with. And so I needed to say that when you were, and then we got off track. But
No, it's
that's
dead
very
on.
important for me.
Yeah,
is that
and
I
then
stick with what I know.
maybe Dusty and I will open up
Yeah.
a bro
Yeah,
bro
it's
thing,
dead
man.
on. It's not. It's
A
not
bro
a.
house.
With me, it's not a prejudice or anything
Yeah, no.
about whatever
No,
else
it's
is out
just
there.
I know what works for me.
Yeah,
What works for
yeah.
me.
Whatever saves your
Yes.
ass
Yes.
and gets you out
it.
of that shithole that
Yeah.
is addiction. I remember exactly what it's like to be
Yeah.
in that prison. So
Yeah.
whatever gets you out of that prison, man,
Do it.
run with it. I just know what got me out.
Yeah.
And I also know about certain things I tried that didn't. So I mean that's all I got to share. So yeah. it's just and it's for that reason. It's just because if I'm talking about something else, I'm just
Yeah,
guessing.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't
guessing.
know.
I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I
no,
hope
no,
it's
no.
good,
Well,
but
I mean that's the whole thing.
and I
like,
know it's worked for some people. I've seen it work.
Absolutely, and I love it.
You know, that's all I know.
That's why I have the professor over here because
Yeah.
he has a little more life experience with
with
the-
different
with
ideas out there.
well, no, but
Yeah.
I was going to say with various substances.
Oh yeah, that
'Cause
too. I
I'm
guess.
more oh yes,
That too, indeed.
but
I dabbled here and there.
yeah. So I think that's a good place to stop it. Are we at about an hour here?
Yeah, I think
guess
we're
so.
close.
Close
Close enough. What?
50 minutes.
Oh.
Well, do you want to do a puppet show or anything?
No.
or
Well, I'll
no?
tell you what. I'll tell you that story you wanted
Oh
to
yeah,
hear.
yeah, yeah. I
Why
wanted to
not?
hear the wrap up of the story you started last week. of
Yeah,
homeless.
sure. That was prompted by cars dying from. First and foremost, shout out thoughts and prayers to all the cars that have passed away from alcoholism and addiction
Yeah.
out there. It's a serious deal, and they
Right.
they sometimes get the short end of the stick. But no, I had this. I touched on it briefly last week, but I had this car. Well, so I moved down to Austin. I didn't have anything, you know. I was riding a bike. I got a job and was riding a bike to this job, and saved up enough money to
What
buy
was the job?
It was a Smoothie King.
There you go.
I was
dude,
working at
riding your
Smoothie
bike.
King off
Okay,
of
good job. I like
off
it.
Guadalupe in
you
Austin,
go.
and then another one off Breaker. But
Mhm.
anyways, I saved up enough money to get a crappy little car, and I bought this car the day before I was going to buy this car off a friend of mine. Some random person tried to steal the stereo out of it in the parking lot of the apartment complex. And she saw them while they were trying to do it and was like, hey, get out of my car. So they ran off before they were able to take it with them. So it had a stereo that was just like hanging by wires, and some of them had been cut, and that shorted out the battery. And then it also had a window that was busted out, because that's how he got into the car. And because I don't care about anything except heroin and cocaine at this moment,
And
I don't.
Smoothie King.
I don't spend. The Smoothie King is a means to heroin and cocaine.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
care about it either. But so I don't fix the the stereo. I don't fix the window.
Of course.
And I still buy the car because I'm tired of riding a bike to work. So I had to get a jump every time I would start the car. I would leave it running sometimes for an entire shift just because I knew I didn't want to have to get a jump afterwards. But anyways, I didn't fix the window, and it got rained into this car and smelled like mildew and was terrible. I mean, it was just a nightmare of a car. If I had gotten pulled over at any point in that car, before he'd even gotten license and registration out of his mouth, he would have just been like, yeah, this is not, I'm taking you in. Oh, yeah, I never had a license. I was driving on a suspended license all the time.
Good job.
So every time I did get pulled over, I did go to jail. But
Can you just leave my car running though?
But yeah, I lived out of that poor car at one point. I burned some bridges, which is something I do when I'm in my addiction. And I was living out of this car. I had the last bridge I had was this girl, and I stole some of her credit cards and whatnot. And she kicked me out. And rather than continue to live in that Mazda Protege, I don't remember what, I think it was a 92 Mazda Protege or something awesome. I just left it in this, I don't know, I just had one of those moments where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Walk off into the sunset.
Yeah, I left it in the parking lot of this apartment complex with all my clothes in it and everything that I had except my wallet and I guess what I had on my back. And I started walking from if anyone's familiar with Austin,
Yeah.
Runberg and 35.
Uh-huh.
And walked from there all the way down to William Cannon. and 35.
I don't know how far that
To
is.
a drug dealer. It's I don't know. Probably
It's far.
It's far enough.
It's far enough.
It's far enough. It's probably 10 miles or something, 8, 10
Nice.
miles. Anyways, I end up trying to do the homeless thing just for a couple of days, and I just couldn't do it. I had been homeless before in 2 previous cities before that, and I just hate it. I just hate it. And it's not so much the all the stuff you would think that you would hate, like the not having shelter or whatever. It's
What is it that you actually hated about
it's
homelessness?
it's the ego defeat, the pride swallowing, the fact that you just are, that thought that it's like, oh, we're here again.
Yeah.
I've lost again. I have burned it all down yet again. And anyways, so to avoid homelessness, I ended up turning myself into jail because I had many. The bounty bail bondsmen were
the people were looking for you.
I like to say bounty hunters were looking for me because
right.
it sounds cooler.
Yeah, dude, they were after me.
It's just bail bondsmen were calling people trying to track me
They
down.
were calling my mom.
But it's technically true. It's one of those exaggerations.
Right.
Yeah. Technically true to say bounty hunters.
Well,
but
dude, we will have to carry on your therapy.
No, I mean, that's pretty much
on the
it.
next episode.
that's pretty much it. I just turned myself into jail to not be
avoid-
homeless.
to avoid homelessness. Okay.
And that's a pretty common thing, I mean, you talked about it last week, how, we're introducing people to recovery because they just don't know. Dude, there are places
you can get sober in jail.
there are places
Yeah.
in this city where the disease of addiction is winning.
Yeah.
Winning. And there's no even concept of recovery in these places.
Yep.
It's just a matter of, this is just the way it is. And, getting the idea of recovery into people's brains and letting that continue to take root
Germinate.
wherever it can go is just so important, because this thing is everywhere, man. This thing is everywhere.
For sure.
We're all talking about the coronavirus pandemic,
Right.
Alcoholism and addiction's been tearing apart families and lives for a long time.
Yeah, since its invention.
Yeah, pretty much.
Possibly.
So, yeah.
Well, so anyway, I want to take the time. Thanks for, I know we went over a little over schedule, but thank you for sticking it out with us.
Yeah, thanks.
And anything we can plug for you, let us know in the
Okay.
future, and
Yeah.
I'd be happy to, throw it up on the board here and
Thank
get the
you.
word out and help you get the word out for that. And then Nolan will carry on your session.
Yeah,
next next.
I've
week.
got some dreams and poems I wrote I want to tell you.
and songs. And
Isn't that the
you
best?
Bring your little.
I wrote
That's
a poem. Let me
amazing.
read it real quick.
Yes.
But once again, if you are a woman and you are in need, reach out to Simply Grace if you're in the DFW area.
Yep.
And that is simplygrace.org.
Simplygracehouse.org.
Yes,
Right?
Yes.
correct.
Simply Grace
Thank you.
House.
And so they'll definitely help you out and guide you and get you on the path to where you need to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
honestly, hopefully.
Hopefully.
But anyway, if you want to go ahead and play us out, Maestro. There.
Thanks
it
for
is. Yeah,
thanks for
sticking
tuning in.
out. Yeah, and remember, guys, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.
all right,
Amen.
let's hop back in the time machine and get back to last week.
Yeah.
Here, I just did it.
I love it.